Welcome to the Pocket, everyone. I am your host, Scott Franceschini, and the 2025-2026 NFL season is over. The Seahawks are Super Bowl champions, and the New England Patriots fall short. The Sam Darnold redemption arc is complete, and Drake Maye and the Patriots, their bubble is bursted. All of the excitement surrounding this year, in spite of the Mickey Mouse allegations, have been extinguished. The people who said Mickey Mouse are now saying they are who we thought they were, as the Patriots seemingly were outclassed by the Seahawks. And in fact, I'm going to say this now, 2 years in a row, a non-Super Bowl playoff game has felt like the real Super Bowl. And both times it's been the Rams versus the Eagles in the divisional round last year. It was a battle that came down to the wire, the closest playoff game versus the 2024 Eagles. And same here with the 2025 Seahawks in the NFC Championship game versus the Rams. But let's stay focused on the Super Bowl here. Before we get into it, if you could all do me a huge favor and hit that like button and subscribe if you're interested in more content like this and the content I'll have coming up during the off season, then please hit that subscribe button. And without further ado, let's get into it. I'm going to pull up the stream so I can see your guys' questions if you have any. And we're going to do this a bit live and a bit a huge favor, a bit with what I have written down in my notes. So I've got the chat open right here and I can see everything now. And we're going to start with Sam Darnold. Who better to start with than him? This has been his story with the Seahawks and it's finally over. The Sam Darnold big game critics, they cannot speak anymore. Darnold was drafted into the Jets in 2018, was 21-35 over his first 5 seasons with the Jets and Panthers. He had a bit of that gap year with San Fran where he played like 3 games. He hadn't cracked 20 touchdowns passes in a single season. First year in Minnesota, he throws 35 touchdowns and wins 14 games. And people like me said, it's Kevin O'Connell. It's Justin Jefferson and Jordan Addison and that defense. Look at how the Rams exposed him. Chris Shula's defense. The Rams are better. Higher QB play. More sophisticated. The Vikings let him go in favor of J.J. McCarthy for the next season. He then goes to Seattle. On a free agent deal, they take a chance on him. And everyone, I mean, pretty much everyone except for Colin Cowherd and Seahawks fans did not think it would end well. No DK Metcalf. Cooper Kupp is your replacement, the guy the Rams were saying should retire. What are they doing? I mean, I just didn't see the vision. And now they're Super Bowl champs. And people like me were wrong. And owe Sam Darnold and the Seahawks team an apology for not believing in them coming into this year. And whether you think Sam Darnold looked great or not tonight, he did all year outside of 6 quarters against the Rams and has been lights out for 2 months since that overtime win. The turnovers were a concern. They haven't been, not since that game. In this one, he didn't mess it up. And sometimes, that's all you need. Like Jalen Hurts last year with the Eagles, he didn't mess it up. He made some big plays that helped them win, and the Eagles crushed the Chiefs. And the same thing happened here with Sam Darnold and the Seahawks versus the Patriots. Now, Sam Darnold, he's always had the talent and the tools. It was the decision-making. People call him reckless. Other people would come to his defense saying he needed support. Like so many quarterbacks out there, they don't have the proper supporting cast, to really help them play up to their ability. And we got to see in real time him develop that decision-making this season on the Seahawks. And like I pointed out, really since that overtime win versus the Rams, it had been looking a lot better. And they will be ready again next year, I think, to run it back. This was just year 1 of this whole, what you could call an experiment bringing in Sam Darnold. Obviously, it's been a massive success, if anything. And I love the message that this sends to the NFL. To the general managers out there, to the teams, the quarterbacks, and the fan bases. 2 years in a row, it hasn't been the GOAT QB to win the Super Bowl, the greatest quarterback in the league or of all time. It's been dominant defense, offensive support or great talent, elite coaching, and a quarterback on a discount who can get the job done. No Mahomes magic was needed in this game. No surgical Tom Brady game-winning drive was necessary. How about just being the better team overall? That's what it's been the past 2 years. And I can't wait to see the landscape of the NFL with the struggling QBs moving forward, because I think more teams are going to learn from this and they're going to say, we're going to be patient with our young quarterback because maybe he doesn't have the support around him that he needs, and maybe he's got more to prove, more to learn, and really give them that chance to develop or put the support around them. And perhaps other teams will take a chance on a quarterback like that more often that they would have written off, maybe the season prior. And rushing young quarterbacks and discarding them, it has really seemed to be a problem. And now we're seeing, the consequences of that with guys like Baker Mayfield finding success with the Buccaneers, Sam Darnold on the Seahawks team, Daniel Jones before he got hurt on the Colts. This should change some people's perspectives on the quarterback situation. So congratulations to Sam Darnold, Super Bowl champion, for getting it done and proving the haters wrong. I'd love to see it. Good for him. Underdog story in his own way. And it was just awesome to see. So now let's talk more about the game itself. And let's start with the Seahawks offense versus the Patriots defense. They started with the ball. Kenneth Walker III won MVP. K9, Super Bowl MVP. No touchdowns, but 161 total scrimmage yards. On the first play of the game, he ripped a 10-yard run to the outside. And I thought, oh man, usually at first play of the game, teams will try to run the ball, set the tone, see what they can get away with. Oh, they were able to run the ball in this one. The Seahawks had 9 rushing first downs, and those I'm pretty sure were all him. He had a phenomenal day, and he was the engine of this Seahawks offense. On the second series of that first drive, on a 2nd and 10, A.J. Barner had a really nice catch and run for a big gain, and he was a huge impact in this one as the rookie tight end, along with his late touchdown. He's been awesome. And on this first drive, though, I will say a lot of the throws that Darnold was making looked like they were going to get intercepted, but they were catches and runs or they were just knocked incomplete. None of them were picked off. But the Patriots corners were being really aggressive, and they were playing really, really tight coverage. But really accurate throws by Sam Darnold on the ones that they did catch. They were great throws where only they could get it. And that was some of the high-level stuff he was doing. But Christian Gonzalez was just all over the field, shutting down drives, important third downs, second and longs. And these Patriots corners kept the game close for them. Cooper Kupp ended up being the Seahawks' leading receiver with 6 catches for 61 yards. JSN was kept more quiet, 2 for 26 on 10 targets. So you can even see that without JSN, their superstar, having a great impact, this offense was still able to produce against this really elite Patriots defense. And ultimately, for the first 3 quarters, the Seahawks offense just played clean and kicked field goals by winning the field position battle and sustaining drives with the run game that was working compared to, which we'll get to, the Patriots run game, which was not working. Of the first 7 drives that they had, 5 went for 8 plays, and 4 of them that went for 8 plays resulted in field goals. And then after that, in the third quarter, the dam broke and the Patriots offense collapsed, and the Seahawks ran away with it. Thanks to K9, they had a reliable weapon that was able to keep them ahead during that. Like I said, the rushing first downs, the explosive plays he had, energizing the offense. He deserved MVP for sure. And the offensive line was serviceable in supporting that running game. And they also were serviceable for Sam Darnold, who I'm not going to say they didn't allow pressure, but they were able to give him enough space in the pocket to move around when there was pressure, and Darnold was good in navigating that rush as well. It was just enough, even if it just resulted in an incomplete pass, at least it wasn't a sack, right? They were doing all those little things right, playing it safe. And ultimately, they played well, but more importantly, they didn't screw it up. And that's what it's been for the Seahawks team. They didn't give the Patriots any chances for momentum to come back into this game, and they made those Patriots work for every inch and every point that they scored in this game. 5 field goals isn't sexy, but Myers also could have been MVP because ultimately that's how they scored most of their points in this game. It was special teams and defense. The offense just wasn't giving the Patriots a chance to come back like the Chargers did, like the Texans did, and like the Broncos did. Maybe not come back, but, hand them points on offense. The Seahawks offense did not do that for the Patriots, and that was the most important thing. Now, for the Seahawks defense versus the Patriots offense, it's a similar story, but it's worse. The Patriots offense started off okay. The run game was ineffective across the entire game, and they really had to rely on short passes, catches, and run after catch for every inch. And they were able to get to the Seahawks 45 on their first drive. And then on 1st and 10, Will Campbell is driven right back into Drake Maye by Derek Hall. We all heard the story of, born at 23 weeks old, without a heartbeat, and now he's playing in the Super Bowl. He chases him down for the big sack. And the Patriots failed to convert on 3rd down, and they punt. That was the first drive of the game. Until the 4th quarter, they would not cross the 50-yard line again. They wouldn't get halfway across the field. And that drive would be the first of 8 punts to start off their day on offense. Late in the 3rd, Derek Hall gets a strip sack that is recovered by Byron Murphy. And like I said, the Patriots are shut out through 3 quarters. The Seahawks score their first touchdown in response to that fumble and go up 19-0 in the 4th quarter. Now, the Patriots were able to score quickly and on the responding drive with a nice deep throw over the middle on an inbreaker to Matt Collins between 3 defenders. Really, really nice throw and catch, and then a fade ball to the corner of the end zone. Again to Hollins, really, really fast. It went from thinking this game is absolutely over to there's a chance. There's a bit of a chance here, but things really didn't get any better. He throws 2 turnover-worthy passes on his next drive, and the second one's intercepted by Julian Love. On the next Patriots offensive drive, Maye is hit by Witherspoon on the blitz, and the ball is caught in the air by Uchenna Nwosu, who runs it back for a pick six, 29-7, with 4 minutes and 27 seconds left. Good game. Game over. The Patriots' offensive line was bullied all night, and Will Campbell was the primary target of this vicious Seahawks defense. He allowed 14 pressures and a sack. That's the most pressures allowed by one player in any game in this NFL season. Reportedly after the game, he ducked the media and he didn't want to talk to them. And you got to feel for him after having a tough night like that. But to be honest, I think he would have slept better if he got that off of his chest. And, put that to rest and just moved on to next year. And I don't think he has anything like the attitude of Cam Newton. But that's what Cam Newton did, is he walked out on his, post-game loss press conference. If you say you're going to fight and die for this Patriots team, I believe from a physical standpoint that you're willing to do that. And maybe you've got some challenges to overcome with the arm length. There's lots of talk about him moving to guard. But if you're saying you're willing to fight and die, you better be willing to speak to the media too. It sounds great, but they want to know what you have to say about that. And that's huge for accountability. And that didn't really sound Mike Vrabel-ish to me, for him not to take questions about his performance. I'm not trying to hate on him. I'm sure he's giving great effort out there, but this is part of that effort, is you got to finish and you got to speak up for yourself if you think, there's things that people missed, or you got to say it was on me, take accountability. Great guy, I wish the best for his future. I think he'll have a long career, but there's definitely questions about him playing left tackle. Now, it wasn't just the Patriots' offensive line. Their wide receivers were smothered all day. No separation downfield. And when there was, the line couldn't hold up, right, to give them that time. to get separation downfield. At least not enough, before Maye was sacked or under pressure, because that was another element. I'd say there was 3 opportunities where Maye, say, wasn't under pressure. He had a target open downfield, so the line and the wide receivers, they showed up on those plays, and he missed the throws to wide open guys. So, top to bottom, the offensive line to the skill positions to the quarterback, there was nothing the Patriots were doing effectively to produce a scoring drive against the Seahawks defense. And the Seahawks defense, they had a pick 6. They forced 3 turnovers, 11 QB hits, 6 sacks, 8 tackles for loss. After the first drive, the next 9 for the Patriots did not eclipse 6 plays. Derek Hall and Byron Murphy both had 2 sacks, but my defensive MVP would be Witherspoon. He did everything. He had a sack, a tackle for loss, a pass defended, and 3 quarterback hits, one of them leading to the pick 6. Defensive MVP for sure. So now we've talked about, the offense versus defensive matchup on both sides. We talked about Sam Darnold. What about Drake Maye? And his performance? Because I mentioned it a little bit how, the offensive line and the wide receivers, we're not giving him a chance, really. They really weren't. But there were things that he was not doing well as well. Because like I said, beyond the utter collapse of the offensive structure, I felt for him, he looked a little lost out there. And he looked a little panicked. A little, I've never seen this before. And a little, I don't know what to do right now. I don't think he was ready for this, and neither was this Patriots team. It looked like when the Commanders made it to the NFC Championship versus the Eagles and just got stomped. Not nearly talented enough to compete with a team that had that many pieces. And this team, like I said, the Patriots overall, they were not. Just like the Commanders. And Patriots fans and other fans around the NFL love shutting down schedule criticisms just by saying wins. You can only play who's in front of you. So my question now is, why? Do you feel any differently now? You watched a team play 3 of the worst quarterback performances, probably the worst stretch of opposing quarterback performances on your way to a Super Bowl ever that I've ever seen. And you decided to reference the defenses that they played, calling it the toughest run ever, ignoring the obvious warning signs. You said you can only play who's on your schedule. Nobody said that that's not the case. But I don't assign confidence to a team based on just a win. Okay? How did you win? Who did you beat? And what were the expectations for you? And did you meet those expectations? To me, the Patriots didn't prove a lot to me across this regular season and these playoffs. They proved to me that they are a pretty good team who is way ahead of schedule on their rebuild. And we saw that last year with the Commanders. A team ahead of schedule on their rebuild. And look at them this year. They played a second place schedule. And now it looks like there's no guarantee the Commanders will ever be back that far in the playoffs. And that's the NFC. The AFC, a lot more of a mixed bag. But life comes at you fast. And this, AFC that's clearly inferior to the NFC, there was no Mahomes. There was no Lamar Jackson. There was no Joe Burrow. And you didn't have to face Josh Allen. Things are going to get more difficult for this Patriots team before they get better. There's things they could improve for their team. They were healthy this year. They ducked all these guys. They didn't have to verse them. Things are going to get more difficult before they get any better. They've got Maye on the cheap contract, so the window should be the next 2 or 3 years for a Super Bowl. They've still got a shot. But in my perspective, the odds are stacked against them, and now the expectations going into next year will probably be too high. We'll see with the schedule and all that. You still got essentially 4 free wins. Jets, Dolphins, twice a year. Bills, you split with them. That's 5. Bills a good win, though. But you understand what I'm saying. when the only advantage your team had going into the Super Bowl was that you were underdogs and that there was going to be this psychological element working against the Seahawks. When your only advantage is that the other team might get cocky, it says a lot. Maybe you're not the Super Bowl caliber team. And they didn't look like it. But they got to get Drake Maye some weapons, a better offensive line. And he's got to be given some time to develop throughout this window that they've got with him on the rookie contract. He would have been the youngest quarterback ever to win the Super Bowl anyway. So I'm really not trying to bash on him. I'm trying to, say how it's also, the offensive line and the weapons. I think the play calling even could have been a little better at times. It was a little uninspiring. But they just weren't ready, I don't think. And they might be in two years or so, with 2 more years under Maye's belt, more weapons on offense, him only eating up like 7% of your cap space. That might be, the time. But this was not it. All right, so now I want to move on to the Seahawks future, because I just expressed how I'm concerned for the Patriots future, that they may have just peaked right here. What about the Seahawks future? They just won the Super Bowl, and what does that mean for the future of the NFL? Well, on the other hand, they've got some free agents. Yep, they were also healthy this year, but they draft so well. Darnold is already on this cheap deal. It's not going to change fast. And they seem to have the blueprint set to go on a very similar run that the Eagles went on. I expect them to be heavy favorites to reach the NFC Championship over the next 2 seasons, barring any crazy injuries or anything like that. We'll see what happens after they lose Clint Kubiak and what their plan is for that. That's definitely a little concerning, but so many players on rookie contracts, veterans on affordable deals. They have upcoming free agents, but John Schneider, the GM, seems like the next Howie Roseman. He's been there since 2010. And in 16 years, he's brought the team 2 Super Bowls. And they've been competitive from the Pete Carroll days until now, through the Russell Wilson trade with Geno Smith, and now in this new era. The Seahawks team is not going anywhere. And neither is this new blueprint. Elite defense, elite coaching, and offensive support for a quarterback on a cheaper contract. Or lack some of that offensive structure and have an all-time quarterback at no higher than a 17% cap hit. And who fulfills that? What am I talking about? Well, let me show you. Let me show you what I mean. Because I did some digging. And this is what I found. So, we've got the Super Bowl and all that kind of stuff, but this is what I'm trying to show you. This is the cap hit percentage of Super Bowl winning quarterbacks since 2000. Okay? And what you're going to notice is the way we talk about a lot of this is we talk about the GOAT, Tom Brady. We had the other childhood quarterbacks of Ben Roethlisberger, Eli, Peyton Manning, Drew Brees, Aaron Rodgers, and Flacco get in there. And then you have the new era of Russell Wilson, the Nick Foles fiasco. And then it's just been Mahomes, Stafford got in there, and Brady for the most part. So you got to have the GOAT quarterback, or you got to have clearly the best team. But I decided to look at this more in terms of what is the cap percentage that this quarterback is taking up. Because this goes up through 2023. But if we go to last year, Jalen Hurts, he was only 7.8% of the Eagles' cap percentage. And people talk about, the super team that the Eagles got. Jalen Hurts is so lucky, and I'm hard on him for sure, because I think he does have a super team. But you know what? He and the owner are able to compromise and spread this money out down the road. And you can see it's a backloaded contract. They'll restructure it and continue to push it down the road and guarantees that the owner can pay out of his pocket. So he had 10% of the cap hit last year. And this year, Sam Darnold, 2025, 4.8%. 4.8% of the cap hit. Next year will be 12.5%. So you're saying, okay, the past 2 years, quarterbacks have taken up less than 8% of their team's cap hit when they win the Super Bowl. What I've noticed about this chart is outside of Patrick Mahomes in the last 2 years, 2023 and 2022, when he won, at 16.5% and 17.2% of his team's cap space, no other quarterback has won the Super Bowl since 2000 with more of a 12.6% cap hit than Tom Brady. So if you're not Tom Brady or Patrick Mahomes, what's the highest cap percentage you can eat up? Because I think we know Stafford and Allen and Lamar and Bro, they can play at that level, but it seems that they haven't. And I think we know Mahomes and Brady right now, at least since 2000, have been the GOAT quarterbacks in the playoffs. They can carry a little more than all the rest of the quarterbacks. So what about these other guys? Stafford at about 11%. You had Nick Foles at less than 1%, obviously. Mahomes in his early years at 2%. But let's just stay focused on the non-Mahomes Brady guys. Foles at 1%. Stafford at 11%. Peyton Manning at 12%. With the no-fly zone. Russell Wilson, less than 1% on the rookie contract. Joe Flacco, less than 7%. Eli Manning, 11.71%. Drew Brees, 8%. Aaron Rodgers, 5%. Big Ben, 7%. 10.7%. 8%. 5%. 9%. And 1.6%. None of these quarterbacks are eating up more than 12% of their team's cap space when they win the Super Bowl. Doesn't seem possible. And then you look at the quarterbacks across the league in today's game. Look at all these guys above 17%. I mean, Sam Darnold will allegedly be... That looks like next year. This is 2026. So unless if your quarterback can play at Tom Brady or Patrick Mahomes level, you need to work with your owner to restructure his deal below 17% and give them at least the minimum, supporting cast around them. You have to pay these guys to get them in there. Deshaun Watson, I mean, this is just atrocious. This is why the Browns are such a disaster. This dude's not even playing and he's eating like a quarter of their cap space. Mahomes, they got to restructure that. Lamar, Dak, Goff. None of those guys are winning at that cap space. Their teams aren't going to be good enough. What did the Chiefs look like this year? With a lot of those expiring older players. Jared Goff, no, not with the Lions. They need the support around him. That defense is never going to be good enough with him eating that much cap space. Kyler, I mean, he's been a really concerning guy that I've typically supported. 21% cap space. He's not going to get the help he needs doing that. Tua, 18.8%. One of the worst contracts in the league. Baker, 17%. Would like that to be more like 12%. Stafford, 18.5%. Like maybe he could play at the Stafford level, or at the Mahomes level, but I don't know, man. I think it should be lower. Burrow, Herbert, Darnold, like it to be a little lower if he's going to do it again. Love, 11%. That's good. Hurts, 10%. That's fine. Cousins, 11%. Purdy, 10%. Geno Smith, too high for the Raiders. T-Law, 8.5%. That's really good. Fields, that's too high at 11%, and then so on and so forth. Look at all these guys. Bryce, Caleb, and Drake May have an absolute shot for them to continue loading out their rosters. Jaden Daniels, Tyler Shuck, Jackson Dart, even McCarthy. I mean, if the Vikings can figure it out, and he can too. But I just wanted to show how things have really... They haven't been so different, We like to think about it like, it's Mahomes and Brady or the best team, but even they're taking pay cuts in those years that they win. I mean, Mahomes is really kind of breaking the mold. Nobody else has really come close to 16, 17%. That's why I think he's special. But other than that, it's been no more than 12.6. And look at Brady or Eli. He was above 10 both times. How about that, Eli? But anyway, we're trying to talk, I'm talking about the future of the NFL. this is something we got to pay attention to, trying to predict the Super Bowl winners next year. Because theoretically, shouldn't be any of these guys who are above 17% and aren't, on Mahomes' level. Right? So that's how I'm changing my look into the future of the NFL. And then to just kind of close out my reaction here, I want to pose the question for you guys because I'm very interested because of this and everything that involves, the quarterback and their responsibility and all that kind of stuff. How do we rank Sam Darnold following this win in quarterback rankings? We know the team was a huge reason why they won. And it's not like he had to come back or anything. But that's what people say about Hurts, and some feel strongly that he's elite. Where are we putting up Sam Darnold relative to Jalen Hurts? Where do those two rank, amongst the quarterbacks in the league? I think they both have to at least be top 15 or top 12, but I'm eager to see how the QB conversation evolves as a result of this. The hypothetical heroes like Herbert, who haven't won, or even Lamar or Josh, have never even been to a Super Bowl. Are people going to hop ship towards the quarterbacks who tend to win more, or taking these pay cuts and allowing teams around them to be built? And I just want to know where you guys rank him. And, how much of that are you even really going to take into ranking a QB's abilities, right? Because that's how I look at it. This isn't official, but I would think right now Darnold should be somewhere around 12th in the league. If you think I'm wrong, tell me in the comments, where would you rank Sam Darnold? And I want to thank you guys all so much for watching my reaction to the Super Bowl of the Seahawks and the Patriots. It was not the most exciting game, but I think it's a result actually a lot of us expected after a season of craziness and parody. Overall, I still feel kind of confused about this season, but I think, I did a good job kind of describing what's been going on recently with the cap situation and how quarterbacks have such a huge impact on their teams being built. So what a year. Harder to predict than any other one that I can remember. This offseason is going to be crazy. And be sure to do me a big favor and drop a like if you haven't already. It's really going to help me out. And if you're interested in more content, hit the subscribe button. You'll get notifications if you hit the bell of when I upload a video or when I'm live, when I make a post or short or whenever. So that's a wrap for this 2026 NFL season. And I'll see you guys for the offseason.